I would like to ask Father Tom Fangman, pastor of St. Patrick's Parish in Elkhorn, to offer the invocation. I will have more to say about Father Tom later on.
I know you will, Mary. Thank you, thank you. It's great. After this glorious fall day, how great it is to come together. May we do so as children of God. And let us pray. Oh Lord, how wonderful it is to be together for Merrymakers' worthy cause. We roast, we toast, and we make the most of celebrating our love and our gratitude for the contributions made by the individuals that we honor in our community who have made a lasting and true impact. Tonight, we honor two dear souls, good to the core, and a couple loved by many, dear to Omaha and dedicated to it in countless ways. This wonderful couple, Jack and Stephanie Koraleski, have given of themselves to help others in all that they do. Far and wide, their goodness has gone in improving the lives of others. We recognize, dear Lord, the mission of Merrymakers is blessed to spread music through supplying musicians and singers to various nursing and assisted living homes. What a joy they bring by singing melodies familiar to residents that reach them and fill them with the desire to sing along or tap their feet or clap, but mostly to bring a smile to one's face as they recall the songs from their past. Merrymakers' Night of Toasting is important for all of this to happen. By our being here, may we be renewed to all the good that this wonderful organization. We pray this will be a successful night of raising funds so that its mission may carry on and continue to be spread widely. May you, dear Lord, bless all who are here tonight to share in this marvelous meal. Please bless, O Lord, the food and all those who prepared it, served it as gift to us. We give you thanks, O loving Lord, for merry evenings like tonight. Bless all who take part now and forever. Amen. Alleluia.
Thank you, Father Tom. How appropriate to have you on All Saints' Day. Now, please welcome the person who makes it all come together at Merrymakers, the Executive Director, Sandy Lemke.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening, everyone. I am Sandy Lemke, Executive Director of the Merrymakers Association. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming and supporting our event. It means a lot to us and the seniors we serve. We are here tonight to continue the Merrymakers Association's tradition of bringing our loyal supporters together to honor outstanding individuals in the community. Tonight, Dr. Stephanie and Jack Koraleski join our distinguished group of honorees. Their long lists of accomplishments and awards are listed in the program. We salute them for their outstanding community service and congratulate them tonight. Again, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I would like to recognize just a few individuals, starting with the elected officials in attendance. The Honorable Jim Smith, former state senator and now executive director of Blueprint, Nebraska. The Honorable Hal Dobb, Regent for the University of Nebraska and former Omaha Mayor and former U.S. Congressman. I would also like to pay special recognition to the Merrymakers Board of Directors. Several of these individuals have spent many, many years serving on our board. They each contribute their own special talents to our board. Serving on our board president, David Mayer of Dvorak Law Group. Board treasurer, Gary Grote of Bridgepoint Merchant Banking. Jennifer Amos of Encounter Telehealth. Bill Cutler of Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, and Cutler Mortuaries. Harlan Falk of Great Western Bank. Pete Hanley from the Silverstone Group. Melissa Hagerty from Nothing But Cakes. Jeannie Jones, community volunteer. Sandy Parker, community volunteer. Steve Patterson from Nelson, Van Denberg and Campbell Wealth Management Group. Cindy Peacock from Methodist Health Foundation. And Craig Pullman from TSA Manufacturing. Thank you, directors, for all you do. The Merrymakers has been roasting and toasting outstanding individuals since 1991. A complete list is in the back of your program. I would like to recognize all the former honorees in attendance tonight. And we have a few. Here tonight are Mary Maxwell, our MC. The Reverend Tom Fangman, one of our toasters this evening. Ben Nelson, former Nebraska governor, former U.S. senator, and our first honoree from back in 1991. John Nelson from the Silverstone Group. Mike Yanni from Burlington Capital. Hal Dobb, University of Nebraska Regent. Sid Dinsdale, President of Pinnacle Bank. And also here tonight is the Simmons family, representing former board member and honoree Mike Simmons. Thank you for all these former honorees for coming tonight. I would also like to recognize my hard-working committee. Our corporate chair is Terry Kroger. Serving on the committee were Tom Kerr, Jeannie Jones, Ellie Seals, and Natalie Simmons. The decorations committee was led by Aaron Carlson of Aaron Carlson Design. Many thanks to all these fantastic volunteers. I would also like to thank our grant writer, Natalie Simmons, and her company, Dotted Eye Writing Services. She does an extraordinary job in seeking out funding opportunities for Merrymakers. So thank you, Natalie. I would also like to recognize our Central Iowa Program Director, Marcia Martin. She does similar work on our behalf to support our 19 Des Moines area facilities. So I have mentioned a few individuals, but I would also just like to say thank you for everyone in this room. We are here to toast the Koraleskis, and we are here for the seniors. Merrymakers serve senior citizens in 142 facilities with professional musical entertainment every month. If you are new to Merrymakers, we are one of the most affordable nonprofit donations you can make in terms of your dollars making a direct difference. The seniors we serve enjoy the music tremendously. What we do at Merrymakers matters to thousands of seniors all across Nebraska and in western and central Iowa. They count on us every month to keep this program going. So I want to mention that we have a waiting list of facilities who would like to have our musicians perform there. So please consider a generous donation during tonight's oral auction. And before I say goodnight, I want to mention that I do have a purse. If anybody's missing their purse, come see me. Now everyone, please enjoy your dinner, and thank you again for coming tonight.
I meant to mention before, I am not running for any political office. And I don't know who those people are who are calling you every day. I would also like to mention that the invitation for this event, I think, featured some of Tom Kerr's best work. Thank you, Tom. So it's time to begin our toast to Stephanie and Jack. Our first toaster is Father Tom Fangman, who is doing double duty tonight as our invocator and as a toaster. He is also serving as an after-dinner bartender and is part of the valet parking service tonight. He holds the record for the length of time any member of the Exarban Court of Honor has taken to process from portal to throne room. I gave birth to 2 children in less time than that walk took. I think it's called milking it. Please welcome back Father Tom Fangman.
You never know. As I was walking in tonight, many people were saying, "You're coming with a suitcase?" And I said, well, it's a long ways from Elkhorn, you know? But I stopped at the rest area along the way, and I am grateful to be here. When Jack asked me if I would take part in tonight, my first response was, I don't think I'm very funny. And then, when I think of funny, I think of Mary Maxwell. And when I saw her, you know what, this is the second time this week. I saw her at the Teammates Gala on Sunday night, and I saw what she did and how she put Tom Osborne and Coach Frost and Warren Buffett, she put them in their places. And so you're always a hard one to follow. So Jack and Stephanie, I've been in the seat that you're in tonight, where you don't know what to expect. What's going to be said? Is it even going to be true? Will everyone believe these roasters? What's hard is to just sit there to listen. But my best advice is to just sit back and listen. I must say, you both look much better than most of the people that I've been asked to talk about. For starters, you both have your eyes open and are looking so well and looking at me. You're sitting there at your table surrounded with family and friends. Now, don't get me wrong. Most of the time, people are definitely surrounded by their families and their friends when I talk about them, but the difference is they're being viewed. Usually they're laying there before me with their hands neatly folded, their eyes are closed, and no chance to respond. You, my friends, Jack and Stephanie, will definitely get your chance to respond back. But like I said, just sit back for now. We all know you both have very much to say. It's why we're here tonight. We cherish you both, love you both, and are here to show how much you've impacted all of our lives profoundly. I feel like tonight would be much, much easier if it was all about toasting. But when you're asked to go to a roast, there better be a little bit of that too. And so I think about my friendship with you both began many years ago when you generously bought at our gathering dinner for Sacred Heart. You bought dinner at the rectory for 10. And I must admit, I was a little nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. Here I was having the CEO of Union Pacific over with his family. They decided, well, we think we're gonna just have Dan and Michelle. And so actually, there was not as much pressure. It was only the five of us. And the first thing I learned about Jack was that you like your wine. You know your wine. You take your wine seriously. And if I recall correctly, you even told me that night, I'm just gonna bring all the wine. Oh, did you ever? I'll never forget the big black suitcase that you showed up with. Here it is. Next, we moved into dinner, and as we sat there and broke bread and shared this meal, I have to say, I thought to myself, I'm really enjoying this. You guys are really great people. And any concern that I had then of table etiquette and fine dining skills to impress these people quickly left. And after dinner, I'll never forget, it was you, Jack, who said, why don't we just go into your family room and carry on this conversation? And so immediately, as we moved into the room, you, Jack, initiated kicking off your shoes and sitting on the floor. And I followed and did the same. We talked and enjoyed wine, and all was perfect. Well, except for one thing. May I suggest that the next time that you go over to someone's house for dinner, somewhere in that big black bag, in that case, that you might take a can of this. Foot powder spray. Okay, I lost where I was at. Okay, here. Where are we? Oh, everything was really going okay because by the end of the night, that night, after lots of wine, you started talking to me about your house in Hawaii. And by the end of the night, you even invited me, you said, we want you to go use our house in Hawaii. And as you were leaving, Stephanie, that night, I'll never forget this, you leaned over to him and you said, I have never, ever heard him invite anybody to use our house. And so when I prayed that night, I prayed that he would remember. And that was the beginning of what began sharing many meals back and forth from my house to your house. And so the next time that you invited me over for dinner, I showed up. And I was hoping for so much that you would remember that offer to go to your house in Hawaii. I remember even what I wore. Actually, I have it here. Have it here. Never even brought up again. No mention, no invitation, but it was definitely still a great night. I remember how you guys told me how every summer you guys invite the nuns over to your house for the day at your pool and treat them to a perfect summer day. And so, as I saw my trip to Hawaii was going nowhere, I thought, well, maybe I'll even settle for a day at their pool. It's not Hawaii, but it'll be at least be a great day in Omaha. And so the next time I went over to your house, I show up with these. My talent goggles. Still, no invitation, not even a day at your pool. I must say, for being who you are, the CEO of Union Pacific, Exarban's King, Exarban Scholar with an MBA, and you, Dr. Stephanie, with a PhD, with a true ability for understanding and relating to people, healing people, a therapist, a counselor at the Nebraska Med Center, you guys are not real quick on the nonverbals. They were there. Get it? Over the years, as I've gotten to know you both, now I know that when you invite me over to your house and you tell me to dress retriever casual, it means for somebody who wears black a lot, be cautious. Don't wear your black sweater, or it'll end up looking like this. I still haven't cleaned it yet, so here it is. My old black sweater, even. As their love for retriever hair spreads all over. Okay, enough with the roasting and on to the toasting. We toast you both because of the people that you are. Both of you are truly amazing people. So dear and so full of goodness deep down. It makes it really hard to roast when you just want to be all about toasting. What a blessing it is to truly call you dear friends. What a joy it is to honor you both tonight for your contributions to our community. Your dedication to people is simply incredible. You are two of the most caring people that I've ever known. Both of you know where you came from. You recognize that you both have been blessed by your families who have made you who you are tonight and today. Proud to be from South Omaha, deeply rooted in family and hard workers. Both of you have worked to be the best you can be. You both have accomplished much and have reached success. Together, you know you're better. You are so good together. It's a gift to see a couple that loves each other so very much and still has even more love to give to so many others. You both make a true difference in all of our lives. And so please raise your glasses tonight to Jack and Stephanie. You are dearly and deeply loved by us all. It's better to toast. It's fun to roast, but it's better to toast. You have touched our lives deeply, and we all know that we're better people by sharing life with you. May God continue to bless you both now and forever. Thank you.
If you think that was long, you ought to hear one of his homilies. Thank you, Father Tom. The Athertons, Marty, Rosen, and John, have been friends of Stephanie and Jack for years. I had dinner with all four of them tonight. That means there were 3 therapists at the table. I tried to keep a low profile, but you know they're smart. They started making notes just as the entrees arrived. And I'm not exactly sure, but I think I might have an appointment with John next Tuesday afternoon. Please welcome Marty Rosen and John Atherton.
You know, they warned us about Mary Maxwell, and they even warned us a little about Bob, but they didn't warn us about Father Tom. Or I'd have begged to be first instead of second. But it's a real treat for us to be here tonight and to talk about Steph and Jack. We've known them now. They came into our life about 30 years ago and enriched it in many ways that I could stand and talk here for an hour about.
But I must stop you.
Yeah, she said enough already. And but I know Mary would run me off the stage. So
It's been over 30 years, and it all began when Steph became a graduate student in the UNO Counseling Center, and I became the luckiest therapist in Omaha because she was my supervisee. The truth is, Steph's smarts came with her to her first interview, and I have learned as much from her as she ever might have learned from me. We became fast friends, discovered we lived only 2 blocks apart, and decided our husbands needed to meet each other. Well, we met more than Jack that first night. We met the junior Koraleskis, 3 boys for sure, along with a menagerie populated by canine Snowbee and Ruffles, Alex the cockatiel, Snookums the lizard, Grinch the iguana, 2 nameless chinchillas, and Fern, the albino python, who was part of their family for 20 plus years. Did anybody know that? Fern grew to over 14 feet long, which isn't quite as long as she was that first night when son Andy so gingerly wrapped her around my neck. And that was the beginning, as they say, of our beautiful friendship.
as 3 therapists and 1 outnumbered railroad man, we've shared great times as friends and professionals. One time when Steph and I both worked for Methodist College, we attended a seminar on mental health diagnosis. The instructor described a case and asked us to write down the diagnosis of a particular pathology he was teaching. There I was, an old pro, had been doing this for years, so quickly spouted off my answer to Steph without missing a beat. In her very nice, polite Steph way, she let me know I was wrong. And she was right. But that wasn't the first time, nor the last, that I had high regard for Steph's knowledge and professionalism. You know, she's the kind of person that can put you in your place and make you feel glad you're there.
Not surprisingly, Jack and Steph, who met as high school freshmen, are a total match on, you all probably know about, the Myers-Briggs Personality Inventory. Outgoing and creative with the key skill of perceiving complicated patterns and information and assimilating it quickly. How perfect is that for a woman who speed talks and a man whose leg never stops jiggling? Or for a woman who had a vision, a program to provide support, education, and empowerment for cancer survivors, and created a Time to Heal, which has grown across Nebraska and beyond. Or for a corporate man who actually gave the Myers-Briggs to his team at UP because he so values diversity of perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences. And how perfect for a twosome who juggled so many professional, family, and fun undertakings that at one point, Steph suggested to Jack that they hire a wife.
For those of you who thought Jack's decision to retire was rather recent, just flash back to 1993, when Jack was in his first countdown. He was to retire in just a decade at the ripe old age of 55. Steph was well into her PhD program, and by then their 3 baby boys, fertility boys, would be fully launched into college and beyond. It'd be a perfect time to blow the final whistle on the UP Railroad.
Not so fast. The never going to happen happened, and oh my God, they were pregnant. So Koraleski's planned, Father Tom, and God laughed. And so did they, actually, quite joyously, for Princess Kate was on her way. Jack always said that if chaos didn't exist, the Koraleski family would create it. So he took sympathy pains to a whole new level. With a gallbladder attack 2 days before Steph went into labor. And she had to be rushed to the hospital by their 21-year-old deer-in-the-headlights son, Andy. I remember visiting them 2 floors apart at Methodist Hospital, where Jack was just positive that labor and a C-section weren't nearly as painful as gallbladder surgery. Of course, Steph did get her PhD. She and Jack became Dr. and Mr. Koraleski, and he even reaped the benefits of her therapeutic brilliance, and she is a brilliant therapist. One time in particular, he was flipping out over the ongoing calamities of their house remodel. As Jack tells it, Dr. Steph calmly fixed him a couple of Manhattans. It wasn't wine that night, Tom. Made him laugh, and then tenderly, supportively, and professionally looked him in the eye and said, "Get over it."
Under the influence of Mai Tais, lava flows, pina coladas, Jack and Steph discovered their soul place on a trip to Maui in 2004. And from that point on, it was a series of repeated countdowns to retirement. And these countdowns were serious. In a single inquiry about how long it would be, he'd whip out his phone, say 2 years, 3 months, 10 days, 8 hours, 6 minutes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 second. And the next time he'd have that date down. For 40 years, Jack went from promotion to promotion, from finance to CFO, then vice president, first of finance and information technologies and marketing and sales. UP clearly got the picture that he was doing a pretty damn good job. So they figured, what the hell, let's make him president. CEO, chairman of the board. Hell, they even raised him to king. What a career, Jack. You hit the top. The countdown hit 0, and you're back home with Steph. Welcome back to vice presidency.
One of the gifts of friendship with Jack and Steph has been 25 years of Christmas letters, Koraleski family stories told from Jack's den, where he reported that any year when everyone was healthy and no one was in jail was a very good year indeed. No matter what, every December's letter wrapped up with gratitude. A great family and great friends make for great memories, Jack wrote. Tonight, we thank you for being great gifts to those of us whose lives you've touched with merriment, generosity, wisdom, and love. We love you both.
Love you both.
Okay.
By the way, Mary, first session is pro bono.
I think I'll wear my python, John, when I come. Our final toaster is Bob Turner. For years, he headed up the Union Pacific Foundation, which supported so many projects and events in our community. Because of his position, he often attended fundraising events in which the railroad participated. So for many of us, he became the face of the Union Pacific. He is the proud father of Kelly, a brand new homeowner in Massachusetts, and son Ben, who is executive director of Heartland Bee Cycle, a bike sharing program. Homeland Security won't let me participate in that program. They claim that on a bike, I am a threat to Nebraska citizens. Boy, oh boy, you run into 2 people and it's a federal case. Please welcome Jack's friend and colleague, Bob Turner.
There once were 2 kids from South O who fell in love, don't you know? When Steph first saw Jack, she never looked back. He was her guy right from the go. And Jack soon fell for Miss Stephanie. He saw her and had an epiphany. If she would be his, it would give his life fizz, and thoughts of all other girls were history. Through college, their love really grew. They'd marry, and once they were through, while Steph tried to study, Jack would get lovey, so their time in school really flew. O-Town was not in their plans. To live somewhere else would be grand. But a job offer terrific from Union Pacific made them think, here's where we'll stand. First came a newborn named Andy. To the mom and the dad, it felt dandy. They learned to love snakes. He made no mistakes. And sometimes they let him have candy. When Chris and Jeff did arrive, their home felt really alive. The boys were enough to make Steph real tough, and Jack went along for the ride. They thought that 3 boys were their fate. Then Steph said, I seem to be late. She went to the dock. Imagine their shock when shortly thereafter came Kate. While Jack seemed to work all the time, Steph wanted to strengthen her mind. Without even a proctor, she soon was a doctor, helping lots of good people get fine. After 2 years of working for Ike, Jack said, Steph, what I'd really like is to get out of town and away from that clown Hawaii, I think, would be nice. At first, a big condo was fine, but the neighbors were out of their minds. They banged on the walls, they made late-night calls, said, "Steph, I think it's a sign." So they bought a new place out in Maui with views, pools, and plants that were wowie. The fam comes and goes, they all love it so, and only Jack's wallet says, "Owie." Their family seems always around where food and libations are found. Manhattans are fine, either is fine, because Jack always buys the next round. When the Knights of Quivira came seeking, they wanted a king who was peaking. "I'll put on the tights, we'll have a great night," said Jack without even blinking. We now have come to the time when I can't seem to make a new rhyme. So whether a roast or better a toast, here's to our friends, they're divine.
Who knew he was an aging rapper? Thank you, Bob. When I told my hairstylist what I was doing tonight, she said, "Stephanie Koraleski saved my life." I think that sentiment has been expressed hundreds of times by the patients lucky enough to have been treated by Dr. Koraleski. Both she and Jack have huge hearts. I remember when illness forced Jim Young to step away from his position at the Union Pacific, and Jack put off plans to retire to help out. He sustained the morale of that corporation through some tough times, and he did that without drawing attention to himself. So much so that while he was president, I tried to get in touch with him about some project. And when I told the telephone operator that I wanted to speak with Jack Koraleski, she asked what department he was in. I said, "Well, I'm guessing administration." She said, "Did you say Kowalski?" I said, "No, Koraleski." She said, "I'm sorry, I don't see that name." I said, "See if you can find a number for Stephanie Koraleski's husband." "Oh," she said, "please hold and I'll connect you." Please welcome our honorees, Stephanie and Jack Koraleski.
This is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Yeah, I just had a flashback. You know, did you ever have a flashback from when you were a kid? I remember...
It's upside down.
That's upside down. I remember when I was a kid and my grandparents were over visiting, and I don't know what had happened, but I was out playing with friends or something. Something didn't go my way. I was mad as heck, and I came running into the house. I was screaming, I was crying, and my grandmother was there, and I told her what happened, and I was so angry, and I said, "I'm going to get even with him." And she said, "No." She said, "Don't say that." And she grabbed me, and she put me on her lap on the sofa. She was kind of comforting me. She says, "Honey, you never say you're going to get even. You want revenge."
That's true.
That's what I just thought of here. This is very cool. So thank you, Mary, and all of our friends. And Steph and I just want to, former friends, Steph and I just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us here tonight to raise some money for the Merrymaker programs, for their program for 2019. This is an organization that is near and dear to our hearts, and we greatly appreciate your support and your help in being here tonight. So we thought we'd start by saying a few thank yous tonight, and our first thank you goes to our friend Bill Cutler. See, Bill Cutler was the person who contacted us and said, you know, how about you guys accepting the role of honoree? And so, you know, like Marty said, I'm an ENFP on Myers-Briggs, and that says I have intuitive kind of feelings. And as soon as he asked, would you guys be willing to do this? I kind of stopped, and the little voice in my head said, be very careful how you answer this question, because potentially, this is a guy could see that for all eternity, you're dressed in a pumpkin orange sports coat, a blue and red plaid shirt, a lime green tie, hot pink pants, and no shoes and socks. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, yeah, we'd be delighted. And I knew he reinforced my intuition because he said that was the right answer. So thank you, Bill. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. Second thank you goes to our friend Terry Kroger. See, shortly after we talked to Bill, we got the notice that said we needed to find a corporate sponsor to sign the letters. And as luck would have it, that night we were at an event, and Terry and Jackie Kroger were there, and so I went up to Terry and I said, hey, would you consider doing us a big favor? Terry said, oh, I'd be happy to, anything. And so I explained to him what it was, and I said, you know, all we need you to do is just sign these letters. And, you know, being a guy who grew up in the newspaper industry all his life, he said, well, do I get to edit it? I said, sure, and he did an amazing job of editing it. But not only did he edit it, but he had his team prepare the letters, he signed the letters, and they mailed them all out, which saved the Merrymakers a big chunk of change. So, Terry, thank you so much for doing that. That was really nice. Appreciate your friendship and your generosity. Okay, next up is Father Tom Fangman. You know, in a relatively short time, Father Tom has become a very dear friend of ours. And as he pointed out, our first real quality time with him was actually a dinner at his house, and that's when we realized that we shared this love of good food and also good wine. You know, if the sacramental wine cruet was empty, he's just as willing to help us down a couple bottles of Caymus or Peter Michael or Morlaix. He's just that kind of guy. Everybody knows Father Tom. He is so well known here and throughout Omaha. It's amazing. It's a couple of weeks ago, interestingly enough, somebody asked who we were having to toast us this evening, and I mentioned Father Tom's name, and they looked at me and they said, oh, that's never going to work. He's way too nice. So I guess we put a dagger in the heart of that rumor tonight, didn't we? Because it seems that everybody knows and loves Father Fangman, we initially thought that hanging out with Father Tom was like hanging out with a rock star. But we found out that's not exactly true. See, about a month ago, Steph and I had the opportunity to go to New York and visit some friends. And we went out one night to a little Italian restaurant. We were sitting there having dinner, and I looked over, and 3 or 4 tables down from us, sitting over in the corner of this restaurant, was Mick Jagger and a young man who had to be his son. They looked exactly alike, and a young lady. And I kind of watched them, and they sat quietly. They ate their dinner, and when time was finished, they got up, they walked through the restaurant. Mick kind of smiled and nodded to people, and then they were gone and out the door. Well, by contrast, one night, Steph and I invited Father Tom to go with us to OCC. And we had just settled in, we ordered our food, and then the line started forming to the right of the table. It was like one right after another. It went through the dining room and into the bar. There were singles, there were twosomes, there were foursomes, and oh, look who's here! It's Father Tom's here. Father Tom Fangman's here. Oh, can you see Father Tom? It's so good to see you. And of course, there were lots of hugs, and there were lots of handshakes, and there were, you know, lots of kisses, and there were lots of introductions. And then we would do what my family affectionately calls Polish geography. That's the questions of who are you, where are you from, who do you know, where do you live. It's kind of like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but we like to do it in only 4. It makes us feel like we're winning. So a couple of hours later, our ice cubes had melted, the soup had congealed, our steaks were kind of cold, And from our observation, partying with a rock star pales in comparison to partying with Father Tom Fangman. But you shouldn't let that discourage you if you have the opportunity to have dinner with Tom, because you'll have a great time. He's just lots of fun. It's really good. Our only suggestion would be, if you want to have a nice quiet dinner, it's probably better just to invite him to your house. And if you choose to go to a restaurant, you're probably wise to order something like a big salad or sushi, something that's already cold, because you'll enjoy it a lot more. But Tom is a special friend of ours, and we thank him so much for being here tonight. Thanks for raising money for us, with us, for Merrymakers. We greatly appreciate that.
Well, next we'd like to thank our longest running friends, Marty and John. I was going to say our oldest friends, but Marty gets a little sensitive when we mention age. Not John, though. John is very proud of his age, and he likes to celebrate each year with a big party to celebrate it's all about me week, right? Day, month, whatever. Anyway, I think he gets to do that in his 80s. I think it is all about him. But anyway, as Marty said, I met her a long time ago in a bygone era when, as the kids say and remind me all the time, the dinosaurs roamed and Pluto was still a planet. Anyway, I was applying for that first counseling job as a grad student at UNO, and the department required this full staff interview. And I was really nervous because I'd never done anything like that before. And I thought I was doing okay in this group of like 8 or 9 people, except for this one woman who kept staring at me like this the whole time. And I just wasn't really sure. Nothing I said or do made her crack a smile, but sometimes she would squint a little bit more. So when I got home, Jack said, "How do you think it went?" And I said, "Well, I think it was kind of okay, except that there was this one woman, and I don't think she liked me very much, and I hope if I get the job, I hope she's not my boss." Well, it was Marty. And I found out that Marty kind of needed her glasses changed, and so she squinted a lot. And I also found out that she was the boss of all the interns and was probably the only one that was even listening to what I said, because the rest of them really didn't care what the interns were going to do. Anyway, there wasn't much competition, and I did get the job. And Marty became one of my best mentors and friends. And she taught me to listen intently and not to trust first impressions, because there's always so much more to know about a person. So many thanks to you, Marty. Much love. And John was teaching at UNO and dating Marty at the time when I was a student. So I was kind of like all entranced with this intrigue between the two of them. And he would mention her in class, and she would sort of mention him in internship. And so I thought this was quite the spectacle. It was pretty fun when they finally got together. And I got to know John both as a teacher and as a friend, and found out that he was the same guy, regardless of what role you knew him in. John's taught at both UNO and at Nebraska Methodist College as one, and everybody who's anybody in the counseling world in Nebraska has probably either been a student, a mentee, or possibly a client of either John's or Marty's, because they're probably the longest running, most respected counselors in the entire area. John's a very hopeful realist who never gives up on anyone, even though he clearly sees their problems, which is probably why they've stuck with us for over 30-some years. John and Marty are the kind of people who really believe in squeezing all the juice from life, and they travel wherever they can, usually taking the adventure route. And so that made John zip line through Costa Rica on his, 70th birthday, I think? And then when in his 80s, he took the adventure trek hiking through Patagonia about a year or so ago. So they're just amazing people and inspire us all the time. And they've welcomed us into their circle of family and friends and loved us through the ups and downs for over 30 years. So we thank you both for being great mentors and great friends, and thanks for being here tonight. Just helping. No glasses.
What should I say next? Last but certainly not least is our good friend Bob Turner. You know, if I could post the definition of great friend in Wikipedia, I'd post Bob's picture there. When I found out that I was extending my run at Union Pacific, to be CEO for a while, I went into Bob's office and I asked him if he would consider postponing his retirement and just ride it out with me until I finished up my duties, and he graciously agreed. So we walked out the door together on September 30th of 2015, and I will always be grateful for that. The fun thing about spending some time with Bob and Chris, and of course, Chris couldn't make it with us tonight here. She wasn't feeling well, and hope that she's all okay. But the fun thing with them is there's always plenty of good laughs. Bob is the master of one-liners. As long as I known him, a couple years after we retired, I called him one fall day and I said, "Hey, Bob," I said, "Steph and I bought a table at the Exarban Ball, and we were wondering if you and Chris would like to join us." And without a moment's hesitation, his response was, "Well, I suppose we should, if for no other reason than to let those folks know that they haven't missed my funeral services." When I was CEO of Union Pacific, Bob was not only my friend, but he was also my most trusted advisor. Bob was the person that if I was upset about something, if I needed some place to go and vent and let off steam, I could go in his office, close the door, and I knew the confidentiality was there, and he would listen to me for sure. One day I walked into his office. I was just madder than heck at a newspaper who had written an article unfairly saying some things about Union Pacific, and it was for all the wrong reasons. I was just really worked up, and I went in there and I was just letting off all kinds of steam, and Bob kind of looked at me and I said, "I want to do a press release, or I want to send him a letter back, or I want to do something." And Bob said, "Well, Jack, you're the CEO. You could do anything you'd like." He said, "My advice would be, don't pick a fight or an argument with somebody who buys ink by the barrel." And I can't tell you the number of times I've read about some organization or company in the newspaper and thought to myself, if Bob Turner had been on their team, they would not be in this mess today. Another time I walked into his office, we were having some issue with a regulatory agency. So I went in to strategize with him. I said, this is what I want out of this process. How do we do this and all this? And he kind of looked at me and he said, "Well, let's clarify our goal here." He said, "A win for us in this situation is we want to receive an invitation to the funeral, but we don't want to be listed as the cause of death." So that's our friend Bob Turner. Interestingly enough, when I called Bob to twist his arm and ask him to do this for us tonight, he immediately said, "I'd be happy to." And in fact, he said, "I would be offended if you hadn't asked me." So Bob, thank you so much for saving our pork belly tonight. I was going to say saving our bacon, but Steph said somebody will think I'm bringing political issues into the organization. We don't want to do that tonight. So.
I always try to keep him out of trouble. Jack said earlier that Merrymakers is near and dear to our hearts. And it's really true. We didn't know much about Merrymakers until we met them back in 2009. My dad, at age 92, had an injury that ended him up in Brookstone for the rest of his life. He called us one day when he was fairly newly there and told us that at 4 o'clock every Friday afternoon they had a wine and cheese party, and we should come up for that because, after all, it was free. And despite the fact that my dad had advanced COPD and had to have his wine thickened so he wouldn't choke on it, he never saw a cocktail hour that he didn't enjoy. So we went up for wine and cheese, and there was this entertainment. And the Merrymakers had a 4-person group all dressed in World War II uniforms that essentially put on a 1-hour USO show for the residents, and they were absolutely wonderful. And as we looked around the room during their performance, we spotted a guy in a wheelchair that we'd become familiar with while my dad was at Brookstone. And this poor guy, like many of our seniors, I think was probably long-term. I don't think he was ever going home. He usually sat in his chair and he never moved. Sometimes he was in the hall. On the nice days, maybe he'd be outside. But he sort of stared straight forward, and he never really nodded or acknowledged the greetings that we gave when we came in, never spoke. He just kind of sat there staring off into the distance. But when we looked over during the wine and cheese party, there he sat with one foot tapping on the phone, perfect beat, perfect timing with the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, which is no small feat in itself. and it really touched our hearts. However it happened, that moment, and hopefully for the rest of the show, the Merrymakers had brought him some enjoyment and maybe an escape from the challenges that his life had become. So it was a wonderful experience for both of us.
Yeah, it was. It was something that captured our heart, and every time we'd go up with Grandpa Fran and down a glass of wine and we'll watch the Merrymakers, it just kind of endeared this organization more and more to us. And we think about that guy sitting in the chair. We always thought about the old commercial that said, you know, it was priceless, but for everything else, there's MasterCard. Well, tonight is about the MasterCard piece. We want to continue to see Merrymakers provide people with even more of these priceless moments, give them the opportunity to escape from the challenges that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. And so we would ask you to think about our friend at Brookstone, and as we get into the auction and things like that, if you can help us out to raise some money to fund the 2019 programs for Merrymakers, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, we have one last.
We do have one last thank you, and that is for our good friend Mary Maxwell here. Having grown up in Omaha, Nebraska, and a lot of these kinds of events, Mary Maxwell has shared her wit and wisdom with organizations throughout the community, and she's done a pretty remarkable job, and especially her crowd pleaser line is always the deadpan delivery of the fact that yet again this year, she was not selected to be Queen of Exarban.
59 years, right?
At
60 this year, she says.
The 60th. Don't count her short. The thing that's interesting about that is Mary's laughing on the outside. She gets a laugh, but I think deep inside there is just a little bit of sensitivity about that issue. Now, why do I say that? Well, in 2015, when I was crowned the 119th King of Exarban, I had done a pretty good job. I made it through the coronation and the pageant and all that, made it through the receiving line, was heading to the ballroom, and I finally realized I needed a bathroom break. And as I was trying to think through the logistics of how I was going to do that with the tights on, I thought to myself, the very last thing that I needed was a 10-pound wobbly crown sitting on my head. So I just took it and set it on a chair, went into the restroom, did what I needed to do. I came out, and you can imagine the shock when I got back and found out that the crown was missing. And I started looking. I was panicked, and I finally resigned myself that I would need to go to Jeannie Jones, who was the chair of the Women's Ball Committee, and admit to her that my legacy as the 119th King of Exarban was going to be that I was the guy that lost the crown. And I came around the corner, and just when I came around a corner, here's what I found. Now, that may be the closest that Mary has ever gotten to becoming Queen of Exarban, but certainly from our perspective, she will always have Steph's and my vote as the Queen of Omaha. So thank you so much, Mary, for bringing so much laughter and sparkle to our community. We greatly appreciate it.
We're done. We're done.
Thank you guys very much. Bless your heart.
Take care.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you. Thank you for letting us be our target. That crown will wreck a hairdo, by the way. Now we want to direct your attention to the screens for a video about Merrymakers.
The Merrymakers Association serves over 50,000 seniors a year throughout Nebraska and in western and central Iowa with monthly professional musical entertainment. Merrymakers serves thousands of seniors like Lorraine, a resident of Tiffany Square in Grand Island, Nebraska. Lorraine is 103 years old and looks forward to dancing to the music every month. She says there is no secret to her long life. Merrymakers plays a big part of keeping her happy and motivating her to thrive.
The gratification is from the faces and the smiles and the hugs that I get from my residents, but it's actually to enrich in their lives so that they have more of a quality of life. Have a little fun with me and I have a little fun with them. The energy from the performance, you can't keep my residents still. They're toe tapping, they're clapping, they're laughing, they're singing along, and the Merrymakers makes them feel at home as well because they interact with them. Without Merrymakers, we couldn't afford to bring them in on a daily basis or a monthly basis even. So Merrymakers is a big, huge draw to my residents. When they walk in, they just bring a presence with them. And it's wonderful to see that presence. And as they're setting up, they're talking and making everybody feel at home. And I just know that the residents appreciate that personal time with them as well. It's wonderful to have our donators, and I appreciate them very much.
We are grateful to donors like Terry and Jack McDonnell of JRM Investment Council, who sponsor the music at Tiffany Square. Thanks to them, Merrymakers helps foster fun and bring back great memories.
So now we come to the Adopt-A-Home auction. And to try to make sure that none of you leave the building with any discretionary income, Diane and Jim's little boy, Scott Moore, will take over the auction. Scott and his beautiful wife, Wendy, have, I think it's now 12 or 13 children, and yet he still makes time to help wonderful projects like Merrymakers. Please welcome my pal, Scott Moore. Good luck.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Oh, come on, do better than that. How's everybody doing tonight? Tomorrow's Friday, the next day's Saturday, and so on. I do want to go through a couple of quick little rules before we start this. I know the crowd's thinning out, just like my hair. Rules, I have rules because if you don't have rules, chaos, fights break out, things like that. Bid numbers. Your bid numbers were assigned to you. I believe they have your names on them. And then when, not for the live auction items, but when we donate Adopt a Home, we'll fill that out and you can just leave it on the table, but we'll still take your number. And if you really want to have fun, just use your person sitting next to you's number. We do have a surprise auction item. I mean, when Father Tom brought this up, I couldn't believe it. 1 week stay at Koraleski's house in Hawaii. Oh, you were joking about that. Okay, I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't mean to do that. No, we really do have, this is an amazing picture. Tom Kerr, I don't know if Tom's here tonight, but he's one of Omaha's gems, an amazing artist. The Koraleskis know that there's no stopping a train unless a brazen bovine thinks that the best place to savor her fescue is in the middle of the tracks. Dr. Stephanie prepares to offer some motivational guidance as Jack tends to the throttle. Passenger John Atherton tries to attempt the cow off the tracks as well, while Marty Rosen Atherton steams at the value of her first-class ticket. Father Tom dreams about the heavenly flavor of grass-fed beef, as Bob Turner wonders if the delay will affect the Union Pacific stock price. Mary Maxwell bridles at the notion that shoveling coal is any way to treat a queen. This can all be yours. We'll start the bidding, how about at $1,000, knowing that Rod Roden is collecting these. Where is Rod, by the way? I know he's here. Can we get those lights shining off my head so people can see me better? There, oh, that's a lot better. Awesome. Oh, thank you. $1,000 now, $2,000 who bid to, go to. Here, $2,000, I'm at $1,000 in the back, bid to. Anyone to, go to, here, to, bid to. Where is the Union Pacific stock price, by the way? What was that? Is it 142? It's just a drop in the bucket. 2,000 now, 3, bid $3,000, anyone 3. I'm at 2 right here, bid 3, anyone $3,000. I'm at 2, 3 now, 4, bid 4, go 4 here, 4, bid 4. I'm at 3 now, 4, bid 4, go 4, 4,000 now, 5, bid 5 here, 5. I'm at 4 over here now, 5, bid 5,000, 5,000 now, 6, bid 6,000. Anyone want to keep bidding Jack up? I'm at 5,000, bid 6 once, $5,000, bid 6,000 twice. Jack, thank you so much for $5,000. Bidder number 134 for $5,000. Now, and it's always fun to do this because it is a really cool picture, but the real reason we're here is for the programs that the Merrymakers put on and the entertainment. It is life-changing. I was a past board member, and the things that Merrymakers do throughout our community in the Midwest is amazing. So this is where the rubber hits the road and where you just give me your money to adopt a home. Merrymakers currently serves 102 facilities in Nebraska and Iowa. They count on these funds tonight to support their annual budget. In addition to this budget, Merrymakers currently has 22 homes on their waiting list. This is an all-time high, so your donations tonight will definitely help. It costs $2,500 to provide entertainment for one nursing home for an entire year. Just puts things in perspective. Merrymakers employs 24 professional musicians. They play music geared towards the seniors age group, and I'm just imagining what it's going to be like in 50 years when they're doing rap. Funds tonight go directly to the programs that Merrymakers does and with their mission. And their mission statement is, Merrymakers improves the quality of life for seniors by encouraging active participation, increasing social interaction, and sparking memories through professional entertainment. So, once again, I'm going to name or state a level of giving. You raise your bid number at that level that you feel most comfortable with. We can take your number down, but if you want to fill out the back, that's great. So at this time, who would like to donate $1 million? No takers? How about $12,500? $12,500. I think that's would equal 10 homes to support. Anyone for $12,500? How about $10,000? That supports 4 facilities, $10,000. Jack, thank you very much. 134 for $10,000. Does anyone want to match that $10,000 donation? We can put you on an installment plan if you'd like. There are some bankers here, I'm sure. How about $5,000? How many people for $5,000? 107. Rod, thank you so much for $5,000. Anyone else for $5,000? Sid, thank you. 211 for $5,000. 279, thank you for $5,000. Anyone else for $5,000? How about $2,500? Once again, $2,500 is entertainment for one nursing home for an entire year. $2,500, 154, Pete, 152. I'm going to 152, 154. Thank you for the Hanleys. I greatly appreciate it. Up front, 206, sir. Thank you so much for $2,500. Would anyone else like to donate? Thank you very much, Jay. 217 for $2,500. Anyone else for $2,500? Oh, 71 in the back. Thank you so much, Harlan. I didn't see you back there. 71 for $2,500. How about $1,000? Who wants to donate right now? $1,000. John, thank you. 197 for $1,000. 144 for $1,000. 114 for $1,000. Jim, thank you. 76 for $1,000. John, 74 for $1,000. 100 for $1,000. Thank you so much. 156 for $1,000. 187. Thank you, Mom. It's my mom, everyone. 187 for $1,000. Anyone else for $1,000? Thank you so much. 46 for $1,000? How about 500? Who wants to donate right now? $500. 28 and 27 for 500. 202, thank you so much for 500. 24 and 21. The other Scott Moore's in for 112. 147, sir, thank you so much for 500. 111 for 500. 205, Suze, thank you so much for $500. Anyone else for 5? 190, Bob, thank you so much for $500. 37 over there, thank you very much. Was it 37, right, Steve? 37 for 1 or 500, I apologize. Anyone else for $500? The last level, anyone like to donate right now $100,000? How about $100? Just $100. Let's see how many $100 donations we can get. 42, sir, thank you so much for 100. Tom, thank you so much for $100. I want to go to Hawaii with you. We'll talk to Jack later. 130, thank you so much, Doc, for $100. 64, sir, thank you for $100. 36, Gary, thank you very much. 123 for $100. 106, 109, thank you both very much. 94 in the back, sir, thank you very much for 100. 120, thank you. 159 for $100. 209 for $100. 131, thank you very much for $100. Way in the back, we got 168 and 163. Thank you both so much for $100. 271, Hal, thank you. 275, thank you very much. 214, Jerry, thank you very much. Anyone else for $100? Did I miss someone? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody, for coming and for your tremendous support of the Merrymakers. Have a great evening.